Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here. Now in this video, I want to share with you my honest opinions about Silverwolf, currently in 3.0. Is she still worth it to pull? I'm going to give you both sides of the coins. There are going to be some people on the internet giving you a very one-sided story, so my objective in this video is try to be as fair as possible to see both sides, the pros and the cons. Now, what is the word on the street right now and what are people saying? Basically, people are saying that she's very, very bad, she's very trash, and there's no point, which does make a lot of sense. And what's the case for it? And let's talk about the cons first, right? So we talk about cons, then we go into some pros, and then we'll talk about Eidolons and her signature to balance things out as well in this video. Now, what are people saying the most is her... What's the major thing about Silverwolf that makes her unique is her ability to implant weaknesses in the enemies. Over here, you can press a skill, she drops a single target element where you can implant the weakness, so the enemies across your team, whatever element that you have, you're able to slap in that particular element based on a bit of RNG, but her utility was that if you have very little characters, she becomes very useful. So on top of that, she gives a lot of debuffs. She like smacks in tons of debuffs. She gives a lot of defense break with her ultimate as well, doing a little bit of damage on the side. That's about what she specializes in. The problem with her right now in the game state, especially if you're a player who has been around since the start, from her first banner, you likely will have a roster that maybe is not as developed as this, maybe half of it, something like that. You probably have multiple element DPSs right now in the game, like for example lightning, maybe you have for example like ice, you have other elements, maybe imaginary, you have firefly, so you have a bit of fire, or even boot heal, which we talked about in our separate video, whether he's still worth it, physical as well. So the more and more DPSs you have in the game, the less and less valuable Silverwolf becomes. I shared this with you before Honkai Star Rail even released, while it was still in the beta period. I mentioned that this is one of the downsides of Silverwolf in the long term, way back then. And now a lot of us, as we have a lot more characters, we are starting to see this fundamental thing with Silverwolf. On top of that, not only do we all have a lot of characters now, we have many different ones, a lot of characters have weakness breaking in their kit already. Akirion has colorless damage, which means she ignores the element of the enemy. You have characters like Firefly who implant fire weakness on her own as well, so you don't really need Silverwolf to pair in with all these. Even a single target character like Boot Heal, who is able to smack in physical weakness on the enemy, also doesn't require Silverwolf anymore. So the teams that she fulfills in, she plays in, really becomes especially maybe only mono quantum teams, or maybe an Akirion team if you do not have Jiao Qiu, who is arguably a better idea for AoE approaches. Combined with other characters like Fucc and stuff like that, becoming better specialists, becoming able to like help you weakness break, the utility of Silverwolf has fallen very significantly since like really crazy times. But that is the cons. That is the downsides of Silverwolf. Now, who would actually benefit from this particular character right now in the game state is a few people. I think that if you are a new player into the game, let's say you just started in 3.0, you are just fresh in. This is a character that you want to actually consider and not like read all the comments and like ignore this character completely. Why is that the case? Because it will take you at least a year or two, unless you're a mega whale, okay? You spend like $4,000, then you will have roster depth immediately. So part 1, roster depth, you check that. Secondly, even if you have characters like, for example, Firefly, you have characters like Boot Heal, there will be a rotation in and out of meta. So unless you have enough DPS characters to rotate around, for example, a lot of people on the internet will be commenting because they are a year plus already. They have been following the channel, subscribed to the channel, and following our content even way before Honkai Star Rail was released even. So a lot of the people that are whining and complaining about Silverwolf likely are long-time players. So if you are a new player, just fresh to Honkai Star Rail, my advice to you is don't sleep on this character. She is very efficient. What is she good for? She basically increases roster depth. Now you only need one element character and you can address anything. For example, a character maybe like Hertha, maybe a character, for example, a single target character like Fei Xiao, for example, just an instance, or maybe if we have quantum single target DPSs, maybe Aglia, or other units like Akirion who wants a bit of a 5-star nihility, you basically expand your roster from having one element, you implant the weakness in the enemy so everyone is immediately weak to like lightning, you defense break them at the same time, you apply debuffs, so you can tackle as much content with as little resources, making Silverwolf an insane good value pick. Probably one of the best bang for your bucks other than Robin, other Harmony characters for your account. And a lot of people forget this, that they actually got a lot of value out of Silverwolf. Doesn't mean she's not as useful now, means that she is total trash and she's useless, that no one else can use her. In fact, Hoyoverse was smart to release her in 3.0 as a rerun, because that is when you likely will have new players coming into the game, which is when the target audience for Silverwolf is higher. If you find Silverwolf not very useful, you're probably not the target audience because you're already quite a developed player. And if you are already a long time player, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you've been watching the channel for a while, do hit the like, comment and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow as well, so we can do more of these honest reviews to reach out to more people too. Now, that aside, let's jump in with light cones and eidolons. Let's share my thoughts about both of them. What my eidolons is, I pulled it way back in like 1.1, stuff like that. So it's not representative of my own opinions right now. In my opinion, E1 here was great because it gives you a lot of energy refund, but it's no longer needed. In fact, because of the change in the Herta light cone shop, you now can buy event light cones, and I highly recommend you pick up before the tutorial mission starts, which is totally free. It's an event light cone which they now allow in shops for free. This gives you all the energy that you need. Gives you effect hit rate. At the same time, you can skip out on this E1 totally, so you save yourself some money. Very fantastic. At the same time, E2, not very useful anymore. Effect rest dropped 20%, not very, very significant. So she is an E0 character with a free-to-play option in the event light cone already. So very, very cheap. If you're a new player, definitely affordable. I don't recommend anyone going for eidolons. If you are a massive whale, E4, E6 just increases her damage to make her a bit of a sub DPS. But at this point, if you are really spending so much money on her, you can find damage elsewhere, to be really, really honest. That is for eidolons. In terms of our light cone, her light cone is where it starts to get a little bit positive in terms of if you want to go for a deeper investment. Incessant Rain. Now this light cone is actually not too bad. For a Nihility light cone, you give you effect hit rate, which is quite useful. Whether you're a DOT character, whether you're a whatnot character, it is quite versatile. On Silverwolf, it's also very useful. At the same time, on top of that, if you have more debuffs on the enemy tree or more, you get some crit rate. One of the rare crit light cones in the game, other than Akirion signature and stuff like that. If you're planning to build a DPS Nihility character, the only other crit ones probably is like Boundless Courier and Along the Passing Shot. So this one is okay, but I wouldn't say like you should get it for Akirion. It's just a decent light cone overall. It has decent stats, 5A2 base attack, so it's very, very high base attack for a Nihility cone as well. When the wearer uses basic attack, skill, ultimate, which is very generic, you have a 100% chance to apply a debuff on the enemy to have this increased damage taken. So it's very fantastic. The light cone itself gives a debuff, so it might be useful for your other team members as well. This is very versatile. Arguably nowadays, it might be a bit more versatile than Silverwolf for experienced players. This is definitely worth considering, but my honest opinion, it's not the best out of all Nihility light cones. I still think that there are much better Nihility light cones. My favorite personally is Patience is All You Need, Kafka's one, because it's just so flexible. For most players, I would say E0, S0 is way enough because the free event light cone is just so efficient, so cheap to run, and that is my honest perspective. If you guys want to see more of such honest reviews, whether it is the characters in the rerun, for example like Boot Hill here, check out on the channel, we already have it as well. You can see other opinions, as well as Robin if you want to know my thoughts, and we will always be doing these videos moving forward, so stay tuned to the channel and see you guys in the next video.